Hello and welcome back to Tobacco Road and Abroad. My name's Gareth, joined by Aiden Moore, and we've got one hell of a hectic week for you. Somehow, Phillip Rivers has returned. We got college football playoff madness. Allegedly, some of my summers have found the podcast, and I hope we may be community guideline striked. But regardless, we're cracking an 11 percenter because Phillip Rivers is back, baby. Let's get
I'm
into it.
I'm only cracking a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. That's all I got right now. But
I figured
in
why not add the
spirit,
calories?
in spirit, I'm with you.
Yeah, so we'll start off there. So as you guys can see, Phillip Rivers is back. And if you're wondering why is a 44-year-old grandpa in the NFL, well, let's go down the line.
Yep.
Obviously, Colts starting quarterback Daniel Jones, unfortunately out with the season-ending injury. That's unfortunate. I really like the season he was having. Like
Yeah.
that's what did he tear? Was it Achilles or was it ACL?
I want to say it was his Achilles on his. It was his leg that didn't have the surgery. A couple seasons ago. I I. That's what I'm thinking. I can look it up right now.
Because if it's an Achilles or if it's an ACL, all I'm gonna say is
He
Grandpa
tear
played through that.
he tore his Achilles on his other leg that didn't receive
Oh,
surgery.
you
So
can't
yeah,
play. You can't play through that. You can't play through that.
yeah, no, you
If
can't,
it was
you can't.
ACL, I was about to say Phillip Rivers played through that. But
Yeah,
and then going down the line, Riley Leonard got hurt in the game last weekend and may or may not make the start. He's listed as questionable. Anthony Richardson, their third stringer, just had eye surgery. And there's a lot of discourse going around. I see a lot of, particularly podcasters going, he was supposed to make the Hall of Fame this year. This could hurt his chances because in 5 years he could be going up against like an Aaron Rodgers or a Joe Flacco. I'm honestly here for it. From what I've heard, the Colts have basically used up all their options. They reached out to people like Andrew Luck and other past NFL quarterbacks who they either couldn't come to an agreement or I know Andrew Luck's pretty much busy with trying to reboot Stanford football. So, you know, I'll give Andrew Luck a pass. He's trying to rebuild something near and dear to his heart.
I don't think
So,
Andrew Luck really wanted to play football anymore, though.
yeah,
So
I don't think he did either. But I
yeah,
guess Grandpa did. Grandpa
yeah,
did.
yeah,
But we will clarify. He's only on the practice squad for right now. There have been a lot of memes about his weight coming in. And to everyone hating, I mean, what do you expect from a grandfather? He's a grandfather coaching football, just chilling. He doesn't need to make any more money. He's just coaching because he loves it. He's just out there being a grandfather. He's got a 2-year-old son, and he's got a grandson. Instead of telling his grandkids telling his future grandkids about this, he can tell them about it right now. He can tell them about it right now. I absolutely love this. All these Debbie Downers out here. I think this could even strengthen his case for the Hall of Fame, if I'm being honest. If he has even the Joe Flacco kind of playoff push that Browns had there for a little bit 2 years ago. If he goes on one of those types of insanity runs, I think that might even if some sort of feel good story comes out of this.
yeah.
A lot of podcasters and media personalities are saying this might hurt his Hall of Fame chances because this resets the 5-year clock
Hmm.
on being in the Hall of Fame. If anything, I think this could help.
Yes.
I mean, it could hurt it if he has a start where he has he goes 2 of 9 with 4 interceptions. But I
Hmm.
don't think it's going to happen. But for me, I think this could even strengthen his Hall of Fame case. Even if he wins a couple games, leads them into the playoffs, just kind of, the beginning of Revenge of the Sith where Anakin and Obi-Wan pilot the starship down. I
Hmm.
think of this as just one of those scenarios. I think they're just kind of bringing him in to get him into the playoffs so they don't miss the playoffs. Maybe win a game in the playoffs because I feel like I'm not saying he's not good enough to, but he's 44 years old. He hasn't played a game of football in 5 years. You don't know how good he is right now. And I think the goal right now is just damage control and just get the ship down on the landing platform. Get them into the playoffs somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is for a week waiting for Riley Leonard to come back. I feel like even if it's for one game, if he has somewhat good game and it's like a feel-good story, I think that could help his Hall of Fame case. Not that he's already not in. I think he's in already. But I feel like this definitely could help.
This really,
Now,
yeah. I mean, this really reminds me of Deion Sanders, like 20 years ago. I was reading the story, like he came back, I believe, for the Ravens, and nobody really remembers it. I mean, it's a good story that kind of like maybe in the moment might get some butts and seats and stuff. But I don't see a world in which he plays himself out of the Hall of Fame in this. And this, like, with his performance in like the 2000s and the early 2010s, he's a Hall of Famer for sure. First ballot, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't see a world where he doesn't go into the Hall of Fame, especially with all his franchise records and uh, his legendary offenses that he was able to lead in some playoff runs, but mainly also his regular season performances. But I'm in the same boat with you. I think this can only help. I don't think it could hurt. Even if like game one or the only game he throws 3 picks, I don't think that hurts anything.
yeah, and I will say, I still think regardless, he's a Hall of Famer. He's top 10, number 7 specifically in passing yards all time. He's top 5 in consecutive starts. And if he starts 3 games, he jumps up to number 3 in consecutive starts in the NFL. If he plays 3 of the 4 Colts remaining games, he will be number 3 in consecutive starts in the NFL in like all time.
How does
So I
that work?
think
Like, but it's not consecutive starts because he was out.
it's
Like,
consecutive starts for being on a roster.
okay,
Consecutive starts for being on a roster. So if he's practice squad this week, it's done. No
yeah.
chance. Like, he's permanently stuck at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, all right.
yeah, now obviously the dream here, and this is probably most likely not going to happen, but you never know. We've seen crazier teams win the Super Bowl. Would be Phillip Rivers getting a Super Bowl. There have been a lot of the quarterbacks in that kind of era that he was in already have their Super Bowl. Big Ben, Aaron Rodgers, Flacco. Who else am I missing? I know Dalton didn't get his, but like we were kind of spoiled in that late 2000s, early 2010s NFL quarterbacks. I think that was probably the most like. I know people think of the NFL as like a very passing heavy league now, and the NFL was more run first back then. But I think we were in like the prime of NFL quarterbacks. Like we could say, I think with 90% accuracy that at least half the quarterbacks in the league at that time maybe aren't Hall of Famers, but they're like they could go down as legendary even if they don't make the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Just the quarterbacks that we had during that time. Obviously, Peyton Manning, he got his. Drew Brees, he got his.
Mm-hmm.
Like Phillip Rivers is outside of Dalton is the only one who really hasn't gotten their ring from that era.
Yeah.
And that would be I'd say I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't think it will. But that if that happens, they're making a movie out of that. They're Kurt Warnering his ass. Like even if he makes a deep run in the playoffs, they might Kurt Warner his ass and make a movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Regardless, but we probably need to move on, but it's just figure as an NC State fan and even as just a football fan in general, that's something that you absolutely love to see. I mean, was Tom Brady 44 in the NFL or did he stop at 42? I know it was around there.
He played until 25. 45. 45. My bad.
Oh, so this is not. I'm gonna quote Aiden: Gareth when there's precedent. Gareth when there's precedent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Brady didn't win it at 45, but I'm saying like he still played good at 45. There's
44.
precedent.
I'm seeing some saying 44. I think it was like right on the edge of 44 and 45. Like he officially retired at 45, but his last game was at 44.
Oh well, point still stands. But with that being said, we'll get into some more general NFL stuff. Carolina Panthers were inactive this past weekend. I think it was a much needed rest. Now I will say that could be kind of a double-edged sword. You know, the team was kind of coming together, and we beat a legit Super Bowl contender. And I wouldn't say convincing fashion because it was a back and forth game, but there was nothing that really caused me to doubt their performance. Like, was I unsure if they were going to win? Sure, it's the Rams, but there was no real shaky performance from the Panthers. The only shaky performance was Matt Stafford, but hey, dude's allowed to have a down game. Another quarterback from that era who has their Super Bowl.
Yes.
If I might add, not to go back to that, but like he really is kind of the last like great from that era. But let's get started. We'll start with that Thursday night game. I didn't watch all of this. I actually talked to one of the parents of the swimmers that I coach. He's from Michigan, lived in Wilmington, North Carolina for 5 years, and now lives like down the road from me. And he is the biggest Detroit Lions fan I've ever met. And he's like, for whatever reason, he got super, stressed out about the game, so he went to bed. It was a back and forth game. It was crazy. Vintage Dak Prescott performance. Jared Goff had a good performance himself. I mean, David Montgomery, 60 yards on 6 carries. Jamal Williams, I think, 17 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown. I mean, this was just an old-fashioned shootout. And this was one that the Detroit Lions had to have given given the current climate in the NFC North. I mean, I know the Vikings aren't doing well, but that NFC North, I think at least in the 2020s, has been an absolute freaking bloodbath. And that's just something where like every game matters. And with the Lions remaining schedule, that was one they had to have and they got it. Do you have any thoughts on this one? I mean, this was just an absolute. This was
Yeah, it was a grind. I'm not gonna lie. I think Cowboys kind of stat padded in my mind. I feel like this game was a lot more in Detroit's favor than the scorecard indicates. The Detroit offense was just clicking on all cylinders. Jared Goff had a pretty proficient day, but also a good rushing attack from Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who was able to get 3 touchdowns in the end zone with his longest rush being 19 yards. Just a real good showing up front for the Lions, which has been a little bit of an area of concern when I've been watching the Lions. The Cowboys, Dak Prescott statistically looked good, but had 2 interceptions, and I think that just really cost the Cowboys. It's just kind of in these big games, I don't necessarily like the Cowboys as much, and this was kind of Detroit's game to lose, in my opinion. But speaking of other like games with division implications, let's talk about the Bucks versus Saints. Saints get the win over the Bucks on the road. That puts the Panthers, I believe, in first place for the NFC South. Tyler Shuck was pretty decent. He's been not statistically the best, but he's been good enough for New Orleans, and he was good enough in this game. The Buccaneers have kind of been falling apart on defense and have been succumbing a lot to injuries right now. And I don't want to say they're a very beatable team, but the scheme is there, especially if you're a Panthers fan. Like going into this next week with the Panthers playing New Orleans, you're looking pretty good when it comes to like division standings and implications right now. Um,
The Panthers can win the division within the next 2 weeks before we even play the Bucks twice in a row.
yes.
Not to cut you off, but this is something that Aiden and I were talking about the other day. In a post by Edgar Salamingo Jr., who's an analyst for the Carolina Panthers, the Carolina Panthers can clinch a postseason spot, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, if this weekend Atlanta beats Tampa Bay, because we don't play Tampa this weekend, correct?
Yes.
Atlanta has to beat Tampa Bay. Well, today, because it's after midnight.
Yeah.
Carolina has to beat New Orleans, and then Carolina has to beat Tampa Bay next weekend. Even if Tampa Bay then wins their last 2 games and beats Carolina in one of them, which means the series would be split, they're both 9-8, and Carolina would own the tiebreaker versus the Falcons. But I believe it's from that Falcons game.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Would own that tiebreaker because the series would be split, and then it'd go to common opponents.
Yes.
And they're now both 1-1 against the Saints. No,
Hypothetically.
Carolina would have to win. Hypothetically, Carolina, they'd both be 1-1 against the Saints, and their common opponent within the division would be Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with how Tampa Bay's been playing, that's very well within the realm of possibility.
Indeed.
Now, whether Carolina wins those games, I'm not sure. But I definitely think Atlanta beating Tampa Bay is possibly on the menu. And that's getting ahead of ourselves because we're still breaking down the previous week. But I figured that'd be an interesting thing to slide in there following the Saints win. Should we? What game should we jump to next?
Next, I think maybe Bills Bengals. That was a very interesting game. Joe Burrow had a statistically good game, but 2 costly interceptions. One that led to a pick six that cost the game for the Cincinnati Bengals. Bills looked pretty good. This was definitely a trap game. Had trap game written all over it, in my opinion. Bengals are kind of starting to get into a little bit of a stride with Joe Burrow being back, and the Bills have been off and on this season. Still very good, definitely, in my opinion, the number 1 team in the AFC. Which I'll talk about a little bit later, but important win for the Bills and a very costly win for the Bengals. Like, playoff looks are not looking good right now. And just looking at the rest of their season, they have games against the Ravens, Dolphins, Cardinals, and Browns. All
Doable.
very doable, but that'll leave them at like 8 and 9.
Yeah, they need a lot of help.
Yeah, they need a lot of help with that. Which kind of gets me back to the Bills. I'm not gonna lie. If the Bills are unable to make it to the Super Bowl this year, with just how the AFC has been looking, I think it's a total failure for the Bills. This is the best time that they have to make it to the Super Bowl. AFC has kind of been a little bit of a crapshoot. AFC North's not looking good. The Chiefs have not been looking necessarily the best. The biggest competition I think the Bills have are the Broncos, and they are on fraud alert, in my opinion.
Repeated.
Yes, this year is going to be very important for Josh Allen and his legacy. If he is unable to make it to the Super Bowl, I feel like the Bills seriously need to be reconsidering a lot of different things, especially with things like salary caps and contracts coming up.
Because he's already 29, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Josh Allen's already 29. He's pushing 30 now.
Yes.
But, in today's NFL, he could be playing for another 15 years, given with who's coming back. He could be playing for another 15 years.
Yes.
But elsewhere in the league, and not that this is, has any playoff implications, but I find it interesting. In the shit bowl this week, the Titans pick up their second win. Shadur Sanders has an objectively great game. 364 yards, 23 of 42, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. But it's just the Titans were just able to get it done when it mattered the most. They were able to go on a kind of a they were able to go on a 17-point swing in the second half completely. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 17-point swing in the second half, scoring 17 unanswered. Cam Ward did not have a great game. I mean, I don't say didn't have a great game, but he was 14 of 28 for 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. This was more about the Tony Pollard show. Tony Pollard, 161 yards rushing on 25 carries, 2 touchdowns. It's just, I think for whatever reason, it was just Tony Pollard willed this win. I mean, the leading receiver for the Titans was their backup running back, Tajay Spears, at 28 yards. It was just, the Titans just wanted this one more. That's just what ended up happening.
Yeah,
Nothing else to it.
yeah. When it comes to this game, I feel like the main draw that I came coming away from this is just the very questionable play calling by the Cleveland Browns, especially when it came to 2-point scenarios. Not putting the ball in Shadur Sanders' hands, especially in that final 2-point conversion when he's the one that kind of got your team there, is very questionable in my opinion. And I haven't really been buying into a lot of the I guess conspiracy theories surrounding Shadur, but if I'm a Shadur fanboy, which I am, uh, I kind of am. I did
Just to
say,
clarify.
just to
Just
clarify,
to
I mean,
clarify.
if I do remember correctly, with our draft episode, I did say, quote, Shadur Sanders is going to be the greatest athlete Cleveland has ever seen before in a very Skip Bayless-esque moment. But I don't know. It's just very. I'm just kind of scratching my head looking at the Browns coaching staff right now because not necessarily the best look.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. It's just that, not only that, but that play call was just kind of, what are you doing? Like, Shadur objectively had a good game. He's the hot guy. He had the hot hand. Give him the
Mm-hmm.
ball.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the ball. But yeah. Any other games you want to highlight from this weekend? I know we've got 2 interesting ones that if you want to touch on, I mean, 3 if not. We got Texans, Chiefs, Bears, Packers, and Steelers, Ravens. Either of those, all 3 of those have playoff implications, in my
Uh,
opinion.
Dolphins get the win on the road in weather that is under 40 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's historic in its own right. But
Something had to give.
something had to give. Stoppable force versus a very movable object uh, collided in that game. I'm just I think the next 4 weeks are going to be pretty rough for the Dolphins, especially with Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, and Patriots. I think the Dolphins are going to be for a rude awakening these next couple weeks. But Steelers, Ravens, like I said before, Steelers going to make it to the 9-8 Super Bowl. And get a wild card. And Aaron Rodgers had a pretty solid game, uh, throwing the ball for over 20 yards, first time in the past month. So good for him. But
Congrats.
yeah, I just Lamar Jackson is just not in the best shape this season right now. Decent statistical game, but he just hasn't had all the intangibles that he's had in past seasons. And also the rushing attack from the Ravens has been pretty lackluster, considering the fact that you have Derrick Henry. I mean,
Yeah.
only 94 yards off of 25 carries is not necessarily the best look, but
Not efficient either.
not very efficient. Sub efficiency, as they might say. But Steelers get the win. Um, Broncos get the win 24-17. Raiders just kind of score a bunch of garbage time points in that fourth quarter, making it look a little bit closer than it actually was. And let's see. I think Texans Chiefs, that was very interesting.
Very
Chiefs
telling.
the Chiefs are not looking good right now. Definitely, they have had better seasons. And CJ Stroud looked very efficient with 203 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and just the Chiefs have kind of continued to struggle. Patrick Mahomes not having the best of games, only 106 yards, 3 interceptions. Some of these weren't necessarily his fault, but definitely it's not clicking for the Chiefs right now, and I don't like their playoff chances. And going into the Monday night football game, we had Chargers Eagles. Chargers get the win.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 4 interceptions
Jalen
for Jalen Hurts.
2 turnovers on a single play for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts threw an interception, forced the fumble. No, not forced fumble. Recovered a fumble forced by one of his teammates, and then fumbled the ball again.
Yeah.
I think he finished with negative 12 fantasy points, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Tough
Not good.
looks.
Not good. Not good.
That was just if there was if you could have a video in the dictionary for the term shit show, that was it for both teams. I mean, for once, AJ Brown did something. So, there's that, hell froze over. He finally started getting, hell froze over and he got efficient. So,
Yeah.
So, should we jump to this week when it comes to the schedule now?
Yeah. Let's
we
jump to
kinda
week
covered it.
15. We have the Thursday night matchup between the Falcons and the Bucks. And with that one, I don't want to count the Bucks out just yet. I know as a
Yeah.
Panthers fan, it's really easy to kind of hop on the anti-Bucks. They're not looking good right now. I just still think the Panthers got the division, but they're going to need to work for it a little bit more. I don't see this. I guess. Well, how would you say? I don't think it's going to come as easy as just in 2 weeks we're going to be NFC South champions.
Yeah. Easier
But
said than done.
easier said than done. I see the Bucks winning this one. Falcons are just not looking good all around. I know they pull out crazy games, especially when against the Bills, but I just don't see that coming up against the Bucks. I got the Bucks winning this one. It's not looking good for them, but I see them pulling it out in a close one against the Falcons.
I agree. I don't think it's time to completely just dogpile on the what's it called? I don't think it's time to just go ahead and pile on the Buccaneers because I still think they're a solid team. Do they have a little bit of a case of the injury bug? Yeah. But it's not time to start piling onto that. So I'm going to take the Bucks here. I think it's an interesting matchup, at least when it comes to playoff implications, when it comes to eliminations. You've got Bucks and Ravens. It's the second kind of 1 p.m. slate game. Or Bengals Ravens, not Bucks Ravens. It's Bengals Ravens. It's in Cincinnati. The lowest ticket is $23. Which that really doesn't mean anything when the lowest ticket for the Chiefs Chargers game is $45. But I'm gonna have to give this one to the Bengals. The Ravens really haven't convinced me a whole lot this season, and if I'm being honest, the Bengals have, despite the loss, the Bengals have a lot of momentum going their way. Joe Burrow's back. The offense has been firing on all cylinders. It's just they've been unlucky a few times. And the Ravens offense at times has struggled to keep up. So go ahead and give me the Bengals in this one to win at home over the Ravens this Sunday.
I'm taking the Bengals as well. I think they're going to start clicking a little bit more. I think Joe Burrow is going to take from the mistakes that were made last week and really kind of hone in this week. I got the Bengals winning this one. Want to talk Panthers Saints?
Panthers Saints. Yeah. This one, oh yeah, I forgot. Panthers Saints is in a late kickoff.
Yeah.
This game, I thought we were going to absolutely knock their shit in the first time we played them, and that's just straight up not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm approaching this game with a healthy optimism. Bryce Young's looking good on the season, 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, but some of those have been bad. Some of those interceptions have been bad. Rico Dowdle, almost to 1,000 yards rushing on the season. Tet McMillan, almost to 900 yards receiving on the season. I'll give this one to the Panthers.
I'm giving this one to the Panthers as well. I think the Panthers have all focus on the Saints right now. They know the gravity of this game, and I think the offense is going to really be able to lock in, especially considering, I guess, the more recent success that they've been having as we've seen against the Rams. But the Saints offense is kind of like hit or miss from what I've been seeing. Having some efficiency against the Bucs is good, but this Bucs defense was very battered, and I just don't see them recreating the success that they had last week against this Panthers defense. Because surprisingly, the Panthers defense has been one of the more interesting factors of the Panthers, considering like we've lost a lot of mainstay players, but still have like resulted in some pretty good games with some pivotal turnovers.
Yeah, and the funny things about the Panthers is they're 7-6 with a schedule that's harder than 75% of the league. Their schedule's in the top 25% of difficulty, and they have a winning record, which, given how last season went and they really haven't added that many pieces, we've just kept people healthy, I think shows that we need to have a little bit more faith in Dave Canales. I know Aiden and I were about ready to be out on him, but can you really blame us with how this year started and in the manner that we lost to start the year? No.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I'll say is, funny enough, the supposed weakness of this Panthers team, when it comes to passing yards against, the Panthers are number 8 when it comes to limiting opponent passing yards. You know, for whatever reason, this secondary, even among the injuries, has really kind of stepped up and risen to the occasion. Now, will they be able to maintain that? I don't know. But that's just another tidbit this week in my reading that I've been seeing. Yes, believe it or not, I do research before this. This podcast is a hobby, but Aiden and I do research for this, but just that we enjoy it. So,
yeah.
Another game that I want to touch on, I mean, obviously, there's Packers Broncos. There's a lot of games that we're going to touch on before we move on. But one game that I think is like there's big implications the other way, similar to that Bengals Ravens game. There's a lot of implications when it comes to being eliminated from the playoffs. We got Vikings Cowboys as like the kind of primetime game on Sunday. We'll go back and touch some of those bigger games, but I'm skipping ahead because I don't see this necessarily as big of a game as some of the earlier games. Yes. Vikings Cowboys. Both of these teams desperately need a win badly. Like, mm-hmm. I think loss, and they may not be mathematically eliminated, but they might as well be if they lose. If I'm being honest, they might as well be eliminated if they lose. With that being said, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys in this one. The Minnesota Vikings, they looked good. J.J. McCarthy's first couple starts, I was impressed. But he's kind of fallen off a ledge here down the stretch. So I'm going to give this one to the Cowboys. The Cowboys for 6-6 look pretty good. I'll give them that. For how this season was looking,
6-1, Gareth.
But I will say, for how the season was looking prior to week 1, I'd say the Cowboy, like, you have to count this season as a win. After the Micah Parsons trade, after them basically getting rid of everyone, they've kind of found a little bit of a groove with some, maybe not so big name players, with kind of more of a budget squad. They've kind of found their guys. And that budget squad, I don't mean that as like a derogatory term. I just means like they had to let a lot of the big names go in order to pay their bills. And turns out, it worked off in their favor. So I'm giving this one to the Cowboys. I just think the Vikings are a train wreck right now, and it's at home. So, and the Cowboys are 4-1-1 at home. So I'm giving this one to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I got to give this one to the Cowboys as well. Even though Dak Prescott is a little bit more of a stat patter, in my opinion, in these recent games, his efficiency early on in the season is really good, and I still think he's going to be able to recreate it against a Minnesota team that hasn't really impressed me as much. I mean, yes, they got the big win against the Commanders, but that's not really going to do it for me. I think this Cowboys offense is a lot more lethal than the Commanders this year, and I see the Cowboys dicing up Minnesota, and McCarthy's just not going to be able to keep up.
Or 9.
9.
Going back to the games that, kind of actually matter. Let's start off with, for this, we'll keep it local to me for our first,
Yes.
bigger game. We've got Bills Patriots in Foxborough. I'm staying off. Unfortunately, I can't stay off the road that day because I'm coaching the high school team as well that day, in addition to my club team. So I'm unfortunately going to be on Route 128/95, which unfortunately runs right through Foxborough. I won't be anywhere near it, but for whatever reason, that traffic seems to find its way up near me, even though I'll be all the way up in Peabody at a high school meet. But, we'll start there. The Patriots have kind of been red hot as of late. They've been firing on all cylinders. There's just, they've looked good. And I get it. The big knock on them that everyone's been having is that they've had kind of an easy schedule. And I'd say yes and no. I wouldn't say they've had the easiest schedule. They've definitely played some tough teams. And I will give a counterpoint to those saying it's an easy schedule. I think they just played teams at the right time. I think if the Panthers replayed the Patriots, they wouldn't lose 42-13.
Yeah.
I think if the Bengals and Patriots replayed this week, I think the Bengals would win. Buccaneers, I might still give them that. And I'm not saying that means the Patriots are bad. I just think they caught some of these teams on a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's football. That's football, and that's not taking anything away from them. But now, when it comes to their remaining schedule, yeah, it's kind of a joke. They've got Bills, and then they've got Ravens. But, the Ravens, they could kind of be sneaky dangerous sometimes. And then, of course, they've got at Jets, and then they've got Dolphins at home. I think Buffalo is going to get their revenge here. Buffalo kind of got shacked at home on debuting their rivalries jerseys, kind of that icy white jersey, which honestly, one of my favorite NFL jerseys outside of obviously the Panthers. I like the Panthers' new home jerseys, the black ones, the all black. And then obviously I'm a big fan of the old school Chargers alternates. Not just because this is Phillip Rivers, but I'm a big fan of this old school Chargers alternate with the yellow and the powder blue. But I think Josh Allen's going to get his get back. I think he's going to put together kind of a performance. I still think Drake May and company are going to have a great day. But I think the Bills are going to come in here and win. But Matchup Predictor has them a 54% chance of winning. Buffalo Bills are favored by 1.5. Yeah, I'll take the Bills in this one.
Yeah. Something about the Patriots, like I'm feeling like they are hitting their stride a little bit. Like, yes, you do bring up a good point that uh, they kind of a lot of their teams that they have won against, they kind of played them a little bit on the off game, but I don't really consider that. I mean, um, any given Sunday is a mantra that really kind of signifies that anything can happen. And I think the Patriots are have the ability to show up any given Sunday. Now, with that being said, I do think the Bills are going to be a little bit more locked in. This is a must win for them. It's not necessarily a must win for the Patriots, in my opinion, looking from the outside looking in, just solely on the fact that narratives surrounding this game, if the Bills lose, are going to be
Bad.
very, very bad. And I think the team knows that. And I like Josh Allen and James Cook to really show out in this game. Forecast is saying it should be snowing,
Yeah,
and
it's snowing all of this week.
yeah, uh, snowed a little bit down here, but
I heard
probably
about that.
yeah.
I heard about.
But
I saw pictures.
there wasn't really that many that much.
It was more of
But
Boone. I saw pictures of Boone.
yeah, but I think we got like less than like a tenth of an inch.
Snow. And for Raleigh, that's early. So
Yeah, but
take our wins.
yeah, but I got Buffalo win this one. I think they win the game up front with the line and the rushing attack, and I think Josh Allen is going to have a couple opportunities to really air it out once they really sell that run, and I think that's where they're going to get the Patriots.
Looking at all of these games, I'm incredibly surprised how some of these didn't get the 8 o'clock slot over the others. One for me, when it comes to narratives, has got to be Packers Broncos. I'm going to be fair to the Broncos here, but I'm also going to be realistic. Broncos, they keep finding ways to win. Whether or not Aiden and I like that, and whether or not Aiden and I like the manner, they've been finding ways to win. With that being said, this is a really solid Packers team that has answered a lot of questions since they were 4-3-1. They are now 9-3-1. This Packers team's answered a lot of my questions. Jordan Love's dealing. Josh Jacobs is dealing. I've got the Packers. I think they're going to steal this one. They're favored in this game, but nonetheless, I'm still taking the Packers here over the Broncos. I think the Broncos, they're finally going to get their first home loss of the season. I know it's always really hard playing at Mile High, or what's it called? It's in Power Field at Mile High now. But it's always hard playing there, but I'm giving this one to the Packers. This Jordan Love-led Packers, I've just got a feeling about them. That side tells me you think the bullshit's going to continue.
I do think it's going to continue, but it can't keep continuing.
They can't keep getting away with it.
I mean, the Packers definitely have their flaws, and
They do.
like honestly, this is a battle of two teams. I think their records are a lot better than what they're putting out on the field right now. But I feel like Green Bay, I trust the ball in Love's hand more than Nix's hand. And I think that's what it's really just going to boil down to. Um, I got the Packers winning this one.
Agreed. Now, looking down the slate, another what could have been amazing primetime game. We've got Lions at Rams in Inglewood, California.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Stafford's putting together an MVP level season, 3,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's been absolute outside of the Panthers game where he threw half of his interceptions. Yes, half of his current interceptions came in the Panthers game, which, half of 4 is 2. So, yeah, that checks out.
Good math, Gareth.
Good math. Hey, I am a swim coach, so a lot of my work is math.
This is a bio guy.
Got to keep my mind
This
sharp.
is a man in STEM.
A man in STEM. Maybe that's what's getting us community guideline strikes. But matchup predictor has Rams as 57% chance of winning. I'm gonna side with them here. As much as I have no connections to the state of Michigan. I've got no connections to Detroit, but you can't help but root for them, considering the 2000s and 2010s that they had.
Yes.
You can't help but root for them. I'd want them to win this, but I think this Rams team's too good. And I like Matt Stafford. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, I'm a Rams fan either, but I like this Rams offense. And this is a Lions offense without Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is now the head coach of the Bears, and he's doing a phenomenal job there. So the Lions have kind of lost their offensive genius at the helm. Meanwhile, the Rams have maintained that, Albert Einstein of the outside zone offense that is Sean McVay. So I'm going to give the edge here to the Rams. I think the Rams win in a close one. The score will look close, but I think it'll be handedly. Like, those types of games where it's like the score on paper is close, but it's like they just kind of handle business, and when it comes to momentum, they just kind of feel like they're in control. That's the type of game I think we're going to get here. I think it's going to be, 7 to 10 point game, but I think the Rams are going to feel like they're in control the entire game. So I'm giving this one to the Rams.
Yeah, yeah. I got to give this one to the Rams as well. I'm really excited to see this. The two most efficient receivers from both ends, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Puka Nacua. These two are some of my favorite receivers in the league right now. Um, uh, I think it's going to be a really solid offensive showing from both sides, but I got the Rams taking this one.
And I think we got possibly one more game that could have been a contender for the or there's two more games I want to touch on. Well, have we done Chargers Chiefs yet?
We haven't done Chargers Chiefs yet. Let's talk about Chargers Chiefs. Kansas City is still favored in this matchup. I'm selling all my Kansas City stock right now. I think this is just not their year. Um, I like the Chargers a lot. Granted, like it seems like with every win, comes like some sort of like sacrifice to the injury bug. But I like the Chargers a little bit more. It, it, it- they I just I'm just not sold on Kansas City at all right now. Hopefully, like, I hope they can prove me wrong, but I just it hasn't been looking good.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna have to disagree with you though. I agree with everything you said when it comes to the Chiefs long term, but the Chargers on the road this year haven't been particularly good,
Yeah.
and at times they are prone to epic meltdowns. And with this game being an Arrowhead, I'm gonna kind of tip the game in the Chargers in the Chiefs' favor. Excuse me. I know the
Yes.
Chiefs haven't been great at home either. I mean, they just lost to the Texans at home in an embarrassing fashion. But
Hmm.
and I think there is a world in which the Chargers win. And I think there is a good chance the Chargers could win. But just with the Chargers kind of, tendency on occasion to kind of just have these the Chargers are still a really good team. I still think they're one of the best teams in the AFC. But when it comes to their just kind of, tendency to just randomly melt down in just horrible ways, I'm going to have to tilt this one in favor of the Chiefs. I'm going to give the Chiefs in a close game.
Yeah. I can definitely see it going that way, but I'm taking we are pausing all Chiefs hype until we can figure out what the hell is going on right now. So I'm just on a no Chiefs diet right now. This is your prove yourself game to me. Last chance I'm giving to you. Like after this, like I'm sorry. The season's a wrap.
The final game I want to touch on, and I think you know what it is.
Yes.
Seahawks Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Colts not very good on the road, but a lot of their recent games have been on the road, and a lot of their road games have been pretty tough draws. If I'm being honest, at the Rams, that's a tough one. At the Steelers, that can be tough. I know the Steelers aren't what they once were, but still, at the Steelers is a tough game any year. At the Chiefs, before the Chiefs went on this slide, they lost to the Texans. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now. They've gone from 8-2 to 8-5.
Mm-hmm.
Conditional prediction. I don't know if Phillip Rivers is going to start this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. They may, and I honestly think this may be smart. Give him a week to get in shape. But depending on Riley Leonard's health, if Riley Leonard seems to think he's ready to play, I'm a fan of both the quarterbacks that the Colts have on their roster right now. I think Riley Leonard's arm, based off of what I've seen from him developmental-wise, is very underrated right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? No conditional pick. Regardless of Leonard or Rivers starting, I'm taking the Colts here. The Seahawks, I'm a big fan of what the Seahawks have done this season. Their offense is kind of a paradox. They pass really well out of run-heavy formations. And I'm not just talking about play-action shots. I'm talking about just standard passes out of really heavy formations. Because a lot of their heavy personnel are also really good pass catchers. They've been able to disguise a lot with heavy sets. And like I said, it's not just play-action passes. But of course, Gareth, they've got a good play-action game. They do have a good play-action game. But I'm looking at people like, obviously, Jackson Smith and Jegba. Kenneth Walker draws a whole bunch of people. But I'm also looking at their tight end, Barner. Barner's a great pass catcher, not only in the play-action game, but also in just like a standard pass situation. But I think if you've got someone, obviously, Daniel Jones went down with an injury, and that would have an impact on morale. But if Riley Leonard goes out there to start, like say Phillip Rivers isn't ready, say they're just keeping him there as kind of an oopsie if Riley Leonard's not ready. So he's just there as a body to fill a spot. Riley Leonard seems unbothered, but there's a lot of press about, them asking, hey, Riley, how do you feel? You say you feel healthy, but then they've gone out and brought in Phillip Rivers 5 years out of retirement. I think he's going to go out there like he's got something to prove. And honestly, I think he's going to ball out. So, regardless of who starts, I'm giving this one to the Colts. I just think either if it's Riley Leonard, he's going to go out there and play like he's got something to prove. And, if it's Phillip Rivers, I'm just going off vibes. Grandpa back. Grandpa back. And this Seattle defense, they're not bad. And when I say this, I'm not saying they're a bad defense, but this Seattle defense at times has looked suspect. Granted, they are 10-3. They are 10-3. But surprisingly, they haven't been that great at home. They're 4-2 at home. And that's still a good home record, but when the majority of your losses have come at home, has got me asking questions. When the majority of your losses have come at home, even with a good home record, that's making me think your team's more of a toss-up than it is. And I know that's a hot take because, it's Lumen Field and it's a hard place to play. But if your home record's kind of dicey, that's got me thinking, there's potential for a slide here. There's potential for a slip-up. So I'm taking the Colts in this one in a surprise upset.
I have to strongly disagree with you on this one. The Seahawks winning this one's almost my virtual lock of the week right now. I just don't see Indianapolis kind of coming out of their little rut that they've come in. They had a good run, but I'm just not like these past
You're doubting
couple.
your boy.
You're
doubting your boy.
I'm
Riley
down
Leonard?
my boy. I'm down my boy. You were listen. Watch the podcast from like a year ago. I was saying the low spot of Notre Dame's offense was Riley Leonard, and like I'm not saying he was a bad quarterback by any means, but I was just saying like why Steve Angeli looking at me like that? Which, by the way, side note,
Yeah.
we should give Steve Angeli the freaking Heisman because look what happened to
Craziest
Syracuse.
3 games.
Craziest 3 games, and look how important he was to that whole damn team. He was Syracuse. But
And he carved up a Clemson team who, yes, they sucked comparatively, but that defense was still fierce.
yes, yes, absolutely. But
And
back to the game at
Riley
hand.
Leonard. Yeah.
I'm just not high on Riley Leonard right now. I just see this Seahawks offense just being a lot, just the safer pick. Uh, I am expecting a good game out of Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, but I just don't think that's going to be enough. What really made the Colts mesh well was good passing and rushing attacks that kind of were able to like throw defenses off a little bit. And I just don't see that happening in this game. And I see Seattle winning this one handedly.
Who do you think gives the Colts, in a hypothetical scenario, the better chance of winning, Leonard or Rivers? Not to cause a controversy, because I will say I will stand 10 toes down and I will own it if I'm wrong. I do think that I did think, and I still think Riley Leonard is going to surprise people as a quarterback. Because from what I've seen and what I saw in the preseason, his arm has come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
By no means am I saying he's got a great arm NFL standards, but I'm saying in the preseason, I saw drastic improvement in the ability to make reads and hit receivers downfield, which I think we both can agree on.
Yes.
I think where we disagree is how effective that's going to be down the stretch. I think that's where our main disagreement here is.
Yeah.
But back to the question. Who do you think gives them a better chance of winning?
You see, like, I don't know what Phillip Rivers' state is right now. So,
I mean,
like,
no one does.
It's easy to just say Phillip Rivers, but I trust that the Colts are going to put the best quarterback at that moment in play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel I feel a little bit of a Joe Flacco energy, but like that's very unfounded. Like Joe Flacco and Phillip Rivers are two very different quarterbacks. You can't just say, "Oh, it worked for Joe Flacco, so it's got to work for Phillip Rivers." Like, I feel like I hate the saying, but it's like comparing apples to oranges. Even though, quite literally, like, what else are you supposed to compare oranges to? Like, apples are fruit. But
yeah, they're both fruits. Yeah, they're both pocket passing quarterbacks.
I mean, yeah. So like, they're very similar, but also very, very different. And I'm just going with the safe pick of the Seahawks.
That's very fair. I can see why you picked that.
Yeah.
No, I also see why you get like this, the whole kind of Joe Flacco feeling, because I'm not saying Rivers isn't going to totally go out there like he's got something to prove, because he might.
Yeah.
And we might get one final vintage Phillip Rivers performance. Because, I mean, and it's not just NC State fans that are going crazy. There's people who were rival fans, like, Chiefs fans, because believe it or not, Chiefs Chargers is a big rivalry. There are Chiefs fans going, holy shit, he's back. And I know he's on the Colts, but still, that was the guy they hated for a decade and a half.
Didn't he sign a one-day contract with the Chargers?
Yes.
And now it's all up, but like, yeah.
I couldn't have foreseen this. Now, had Justin Herbert gone down, I would have said that he would have gone there.
Yeah.
I would not have thought him to go back to Colts. If you were going to tell me at the beginning of this year that Phillip Rivers is going to start a game due to injury, I would have said, oh, the Chargers. Something awful happened to Justin Herbert. The hand he's been having issues with for a few years finally got to him, and they decided the sheriff needed one last ride.
Yes.
I mean, the sheriff is getting one last ride, but and one last thing. Like I said, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl if Phillip Rivers is quarterback. But if they do, I think it's be more of a Peyton Manning situation. Like, the year Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, how statistically he wasn't necessarily the best.
Yeah, he was a liability,
pretty
much.
It was, yeah, I don't think he'll be a liability, but I don't think he'll be kind of, the focal point of that offense. I think it's going to be more of him on the play action while Jonathan Taylor's kind of the focus.
Yeah.
And with that being said, should we get into some college football?
Yeah, let's jump into some college football. Let's take a little break and then jump into playoffs, bowls, and hell, even the Army-Navy game.
Sounds good. All right, we'll see you guys on the other side of a break. All right, we're back after a quick little break. Aiden and I were gone for a bit because we did a little bit of a deep dive onto Phillip Rivers and then just some of the other college football players of that time. And we kind of got on a little bit of a rant, but we're back now.
Yeah. I mean, it's
who's Jason White,
bro. I'm sorry. Maybe it might be my age. Like I was in diapers, and when he was playing Jason White. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with your game, but when I saw that you won the Heisman in 2003, I was like, who?
Who? All.
Huh? But you know what? This is my homework. Next week, I'm gonna be familiar with Jason White's game, and I will do my due diligence, and I will not judge. But that was a stacked Heisman race. Larry Fitzgerald, Eli Manning. Larry Fitzgerald was a sophomore. Eli Manning was a junior then, and Gareth was hyping on Phillip Rivers. So, anyway,
with college football, there's a lot of places we could start for right now.
Mm-hmm.
We could start with the program that's looking. Their criminal record is rivaling that of the Georgia Bulldogs right now, and it's a developing story. So we might as well start
Michigan.
with that.
Yeah.
Michigan's.
I didn't even know. I don't even know how we can do this story justice, because this is a very serious topic. That
it's gotten very serious and very dark in the last few hours.
It's very serious, very dark. I think we need to change the vibe right now. But developing story right now. Michigan has fired their head coach, Sharon Moore, and he is in custody as of Wednesday night as a suspect in an alleged sexual assault against a staff member.
This has been developing all night. At first, he was fired for an inappropriate relationship, which made me think, at first I'm like, oh, he probably had a bad relationship with the trainer. And now it's escalated. Not escalate is not the right word, but more has come out to the point it's sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a good look for the Michigan program.
I mean, if I think it's respectable for Michigan handling it in this way promptly.
Very, very good.
From the outside end, obviously there might be some things that might have been swept under the rug, but as far as I can see from an outside in, if these accusations are true, kudos to the Michigan program for putting the safety of their staff first, and not letting this is our head football coach, we can't lose him right now, especially considering the fact that Michigan has been not the best season, but considering things it is not, and unfortunately it is not uncommon to see big programs sweep this type of stuff under the rug. So I think this is very responsible and a very uh, good on the Michigan body that they saw a threat to some of their staff members who might not have like as much pull as like a head football coach, but taking the safety of their staff first and foremost, which I very much respect.
Yeah, and this is unfortunate. And when I said this is a bad look on the Michigan program, I didn't mean when it came to firing him. I just meant given the recent history of their program with just legal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I do feel for obviously whoever the victim of this is. We feel for them. We hope everything, they're in a safe place now. We hope they're represented fairly and justice is served quickly and served swiftly. But this is just I don't even know where to start if you're a Michigan fan. This is just things have gone from bad to worse. You've essentially sold your soul to the devil for that national championship and to maintain relevance.
Yeah.
But this is still developing as it's 1:00 in the morning, and this is still there's details are coming out as recent as an hour ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We'll find out more in the coming days.
Yeah.
I mean, this article was published at 7:37, but this article says it was edited as little as 57 minutes ago. So we are still finding stuff out as you guys are. Yeah, this article was updated today, Thursday morning, or wee hours of Thursday morning. Like this is ongoing. So not sure if we'll keep an update going on this if like something comes out by the time we finish the episode, but our thoughts and prayers are with the victim of this crime, and we hope the Michigan program is able to move forward in a positive direction despite everything that's been going on, and that we also hope that justice is served rightfully and swiftly. So, speaking of justice, but in a more light-hearted sense, let's talk about the playoff. Or do we want to get into conference championships before we talk about the playoff? Do we want to get into conference championships?
I mean,
or do we want to go straight into the playoff?
Let's be real.
At
the time of this like podcast, everybody should know like the results of like these conference championships. But that's brief summary: Tulane gets the win over North Texas. JMU gets the win over Troy. Indiana beats Ohio State 13-10. Georgia handily beat Alabama. Texas Tech handily beat BYU. And Duke springs the upset over Virginia. All right, now that we got that. Yep.
I do have something I'd like to bring up. So, I'm not complaining because I had no skin in the game. But this is a question I wanted to pose to you because I know you're a Notre Dame fan. We want to get into the playoff. I know we want to get there. Replay review. Quick, what's your take on what you think is acceptable for replay review? I want to ask you a question. Obviously, like, you're going to know there's an agenda I'm getting at here. I don't have an agenda. I liked how both games ended. They were entertaining. I love 2-1 regardless of both teams.
Mm-hmm.
During the North Texas Tulane game.
Yes.
We were told you are not allowed to inference anything on a replay review unless it's explicit. Immediate game following that, Ohio State, Indiana, they were able to piece together with evidence a call on replay review. Let me give you some context. First thing, Drew Mestemaker throws an interception. It's ruled a pick six and a touchdown. But looking at the replay, Drew Mestemaker forces the ball out on the goal line and tumbles out for what should have been a touchback, in my opinion. Like I said, I have no skin in the game either way. I'm very happy for Tulane. Tulane and North Texas are two of my favorite group of 5 schools, so I don't really care who won. This is a genuine question I have.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the replay, you can see when Drew Mestamaker makes the tackle, he is well short of the goal line. From another angle, you can't tell whether the ball is over the plane or not, but you can see it out. My thing is, why can't you piece together those two reviews and see when he makes contact with the ball? Because in one review, he makes contact with the ball, but you can't tell where it is. From another angle, you can tell he makes contact with the player well short of the goal line. What's your call there? Based off the evidence, he's made contact with the player a yard and a half short of the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
In the other shot, you can't tell where it is on the field.
Yeah.
But you see the ball's out. But from the other angle, you can see it's well short of the goal line. Do you think, in your mind, logically, you can piece together and say with 100% accuracy that ball's out short of the goal line, given that information?
Yeah.
Rules analyst Matt Austin said no. I'm about tired of this Matt Austin guy. He's inconsistent. I'm blanking on the exact context in the Indiana-Ohio State game. It was something similar with a touchdown. It was a fourth down. It was a fourth down. I think Mendoza took off, and there was a question of whether he got to the first down.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to piece together from several angles. Like, from one angle, it showed that he still had possession of the ball. No. Yeah, he still had possession of the ball. Because there was a question of whether he fumbled. Don't call me on that. But there was something to do with the spot of the ball and whether he still had the ball. From one angle, you saw he still had the ball, but you couldn't tell if he made the line to gain. In another shot, he very clearly gets the line to gain, but you can't tell if he had the ball in possession or not. And they're like, yes, of course, you can piece together the different angles. My question is, why is there a discrepancy? And I love that Tulane one. I like this Tulane Ole Miss rematch. I love this. I think this is a really good rematch. And I think Tulane has a better chance. Let me look something up real quick. Matt Austin's a rules analyst for the SEC. If it said ACC, I was going to go on a rant. You get what I'm saying, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, you know how Matt Austin, they pull him into both games? Like, they pull him into all live games. He's in a command center.
Yeah.
Not 10 minutes later in the Virginia Duke game, there's a replay review where they piece things together from multiple angles. And what does he say? I don't like that. That call should not have been overturned.
Yeah.
Where's the line?
Yeah.
Where's the line? Yes, I get indisputable replay evidence. But say Aiden and I are playing football, and Aiden tackles me well short of the goal line, and there's a question of whether or not I fumble. From one angle, you can clearly see I fumble, but you can't tell where I am. From another angle, I'm 5 yards short of the goal line. I think replay review should be able to inference that I was short of the goal line and fumbled the ball. Would you not agree? Like, I think you should be able to use a healthy inference. Like, I understand you can't go off of I think it's out, or logically I think it would be out. If logically you know it's out, based off of multiple camera angles, is the ball out?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not yelling at you or disagreeing with you in any way. Like,
you
get the point I'm making here.
Yeah, it's just a weird, because I do like indisputable evidence, just because.
But wouldn't that be indisputable? Because because he said you're allowed to sync up several camera angles.
Yeah.
But then not 10 minutes later was like, I don't like that. That shouldn't be allowed. But then he said in the previous scenario, I'm for that. What is it?
Yeah, you bring up good points. I mean, with the state of technology now, where we do have that ability to sync up videos and basically get it perfect, I think maybe the concern might be there still exists the margin for error.
Yeah, and I agree. My point is, if we're going to allow it, allow it. If we're not going to allow it, don't. Because I will stand by undisputable evidence if that's the standard that we hold every call to. If that's the standard, I will happily go, yeah, that ball probably was out, but that's not the standard. The standard is we have to physically see it from every camera angle. Okay. No beef on my end. No beef on my end. But it's this wishy-washy thing. And I'm sure we'll cover this more in kind of our end of season award show. It's similar to how I feel about targeting. It's like I brought up here. The rules are clear. The rules are clear for replay review and targeting, it's not enforced to the standard to the letter of the law.
Yes.
The years where it's kind of the rules are murky, it's somewhat enforced consistently, but it still leaves people upset because the rules are murky. For both. That's just one thing I wanted to bring up because I watch a bunch of games over the weekend and I have this 2-foot by 3-foot whiteboard where I write notes on. Sorry, I just want to bring that up before we got too deep into the podcast. That was just something I wanted to ask you about. Like, I get the margin for error, and I get that in most scenarios, but when it's something where, like, it's clearly, like, they're over a yard shy of the goal line, like, the margin for error there, I think, is almost out the window. Like, if it were something where it's, like, the quarter-yard line, like a quarter of a yard out, okay, still rule that a touchdown. But a yard and a half, that's almost 5 feet. You can see that with the naked eye from the nosebleeds, probably. But no, with that, we'll get into the playoff. But that's Garrett's rant for the week, and I don't care that North Texas sucks. I know I've been a North Texas homer this season, but Aiden will also tell you I do like Tulane.
Yes.
I like Tulane a lot as a Group of 5 program. They're one of my favorite Group of 5 programs. Like the color scheme, like the team, like the coach. And I'm also as big of a Jake Retzloff fan I can be as a non-Tulane fan.
Yeah.
CJ Bailey homer right here. But I recognize game and Jake Retzloff. But no, continue. I'll let you go on. I'll let you address the playoff.
Yeah. So
bring up the topic.
The main storyline coming from the playoff, the final seeding, is Notre Dame drops in the playoffs after being in the playoff basically for the entirety of the month of November when they're making these projections and these rankings. Notre Dame drops without having played a game this week. I just have mixed feelings on this. I understand the notion, like, oh, we don't want to punish teams for playing in a conference championship if they're already in the playoff. We should. My thing with that is I'm not even mad that Alabama's in. I'm mad that the game didn't even mean anything. The committee deliberately put Alabama above Notre Dame after a not so convincing win against Auburn. We know rivalry week and all that stuff. Like, Alabama and Oklahoma jumped Notre Dame over the course of a couple weeks after games that aren't warranting a jump, if that makes sense. And they're deliberately kind of setting up the matchup between Notre Dame and Miami, which I understand. Miami wins the head-to-head. And I just think everything is just a little bit weird. In my bracket, I would have had Alabama drop to 10, at least.
They're the only team they're the only team that lost a conference championship game and did not drop a single spot.
Yeah.
For context, BYU got blown out, dropped out. Alabama got blown out, didn't budge. Virginia lost, dropped out. I'm not as mad about that one because Virginia was a bubble team as it is. And here's my take on this. I think playing in the conference championship game, if you lose, should hurt you. Win your game.
Yeah.
Win the game in front of you.
Or
The precedent that's set right now is the only guarantee you're in is if you're a top 5 power ranked champion. Or no, a top 5 ranked conference champion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, I don't like this whole narrative of going ahead and proclaiming a team's in when they're not a conference champion. I don't like that. But because that's the standard that's set is top 5 ranked conference champions are an auto bid. Auto bid. You don't see people saying teams are a tournament lock for the NCAA tournament before they won a conference championship. Yes, they're more than likely going to get in. But the performance in the conference championship game can hurt you. I've seen NC State teams who are bubble teams get blown out in the ACC championship game, and because, that performance should matter. How you are playing then should matter. Like, yes, yes, I believe Alabama should be punished for losing to a terrible Florida State team, but I also recognize that Florida State game was beginning of the season, and this Alabama team's a different team now. But then they get fucked by Georgia. And that's who they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
But we shouldn't, they're in a tough conference, and we shouldn't punish them for playing a conference championship game. There's only 5 guarantees to get in. You are not guaranteed to get in. There are times that because teams haven't been conference champions, they've been left out. 2014 TCU, the Big 12 did not have a conference championship game. They got left out. There's historical precedence here. Florida State, don't get me started. Florida State got left out because they didn't have Jordan Travis. Ole Miss, in my opinion, should have been left out along with Alabama. Leave them out. Leave them out. And I am not saying that Ole Miss team doesn't deserve, but the precedent the committee has set is it's the best teams, not the most deserving.
I think with that,
I don't think Alabama or Ole Miss are one of the best teams right now.
I agree with that.
I take fucking Texas over them right now.
Yeah.
Not Vanderbilt. I love me some Vanderbilt right now. Diego, as much shit as I've given Diego Pavia for saying Haynes King is who Diego Pavia thinks he is. Diego Pavia is still a dog. Yeah. He's still a dog. I love him. I still loop him into that category with those service academy quarterbacks. They're my dogs. They're players you cannot force me to hate. Even though I get annoyed by Pavia, I will never hate Diego Pavia. I'm still a fan. I would take Texas over Alabama right now. I would take Texas over Ole Miss right now. They've got the better resume. Yes, they're 9-3. And yes, I said, we really shouldn't be looking at 9-3 teams. But that was for the playoff last year. The playoff rules have changed for this year. That was under the old rules. All right. I'm half a mind to say all 4 Power 4 champions make it. You want a Power 4 conference, and I know, but the ACC is weak. I'm sorry, the SEC isn't as all that it's chalked up to be this season. I'm not saying they're not the best conference this year or the strongest, but they're not what they're chalked up to be. I think the Big Ten's the top dog this year. I think national championship rematches Ohio State, Indiana, and it's not even close. I think they're going to dog walk the field. But that's all hypotheticals, and we're not SEC fans, so we're not undefeated in hypothetical games. What are your thoughts here as a Notre Dame fan? Like, I see both sides of the argument, and I have an interesting take on it as an ACC homer. I think both sides are right, but also both sides are wrong in their respective ways. But I want your opinion as a Notre Dame fan first before we get kind of into the nitty-gritty.
I don't like the narratives from Notre Dame saying like, oh, the playoff committee is completely against us right now. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of that, but I don't like how the people that are more on the anti-Notre Dame camp right now just seem all chum and happy about it. or like say, yeah, Notre Dame had like no reason to be in the playoff right now as it stands right now. Um, Head to head is a very important. Like I'll concede the Miami thing. Yes, head to head, got it. And I also understand Alabama is the regular season SEC champion technically. Regular season, yeah. And the whole argument is you can't leave a team out that was the regular season champion. A little bit weaker. I think Alabama should have dropped. And I can understand keeping them in, but I do think Alabama should have dropped a little bit. Notre Dame gets boosted up, and then the committee can just kind of hide behind the fact like, oh, Miami was just out. Miami had some bad losses. Let's be real. Like Miami's only win had only one win against a top 25 opponent, and that was Notre Dame. Notre Dame only had one win against a top 25 opponent, I believe, and two losses. Notre Dame played a harder schedule than Miami. And if it's head to head like this scenario, yes, Miami should be in over Notre Dame. But it's real wishy-washy in politics and all this other noise. I understand the ACC kind of wanting to prioritize Miami over Notre Dame, but if that's the case, then maybe we should just reconsider the whole deal that we have with the ACC, respectfully, because our schedule is kind of weak because we are subjected to playing the ACC. I know with like conference realignment and like how big these conferences are, people say if they didn't have the ACC agreement, Notre Dame will be playing no names every week. I highly disagree with that. I think that a lot of teams would want to put Notre Dame as a part of the schedule, just because number one, the money that it will be brought in, like bringing Notre Dame into town, and the just you're going to get eyes regardless. Notre Dame, as much as I hated the phrase growing up because I thought it was unwarranted, as I get older, I understand it. Notre Dame is the Dallas Cowboys of college football. They really are. Everyone's going to watch them no matter how good or bad they are. People are going to have their eyes on Notre Dame. But it's a tough situation, and I think the issue that you bring up, Gareth, your thought of precedent is very valid with TCU, with FSU, but the key factor is that people would say is that was the 14 playoff. This is the 12-team playoff. So everybody collectively, and I think the committee has agreed and is going by this, they're throwing out all logic from the 4-team playoff era. This is a new era, and this is a new logic that they have going into it. You may not like the logic. You may love the logic. It's a new logic now. And that's just that's just
agree
how
with
it
a
is.
lot of this. I agree with that sentiment and that the logic needs to be new
Yes.
because of the new format. And I'll explain kind of what I said. I think neither the ACC nor Notre Dame is in the right nor the wrong here. There's valid grievances on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I agree, airing the Miami Notre Dame game on repeat probably was not the best look. I understand why they did it because the ACC gets a cut of whatever Miami makes just for being in the playoff.
Yes.
Because Notre Dame keeps it all because they're only loosely affiliated. So I think that's one thing Notre Dame has to understand from the ACC's perspective is Notre Dame's not a full member. If Notre Dame were a full member, I think the ACC would have gone to bat for both of those teams. I
Yeah,
think the ACC
absolutely.
would have lobbied to, and I don't get why Notre Dame fans are upset that they lobbied to get Duke in. Because I think if Notre Dame were a full member, I think they would have lobbied hard to get both those teams. Because I think both Notre Dame and Miami are very dangerous teams that, and honestly, I think Notre Dame has a better chance with who they are right now of winning the national championship than Miami does. I'm just not very high on Miami. Outside of home games, I don't think they're very good. They're not a very good road team, in my opinion, outside of that one Pitt game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Notre Dame overall right now is the better team. But I get what you said. You have to value the head-to-head. But also at
You
the
have
same
to
time,
value the head-to-head, but the
don't lose to
committee
Louisville.
needs to figure out, okay, what is our logic? Can we actually have a precedent for what our logic is? Because we got to understand now, 12-team logic is now different from 14 logic,
Yeah.
and we're just going to create some uncomfortable conversations. I do think Alabama should drop at least one spot.
At the very least.
Or like here's one way just to like completely take all this out, and like if and this is why it kind of gets into the why I understand Notre Dame backed out of their bowl. I would have loved to see Notre Dame in the Pop Tart Bowl. Like you don't understand. I that would feed generations for me. Like other than a playoff run, like I would love to see Notre Dame in the Pop Tart Bowl. But here's the thing: ESPN makes a lot of money and makes, well, I wouldn't say more, makes more money in the month of November because they have a 8 o'clock time slot where they reveal the rankings of the playoff, and you're going in so you can see where your team is, and the logic from week to week flips on a dime, and you're just kind of sitting there and you're making money off of these teams that aren't playing, and just kind of like putting teams in these situations where they need to politic. All of this could really be avoided if if the playoff committee made one ranking at the end of conference championships and said, hey, we assembled this past month. You don't know what we were thinking week to week. This is our ranking now. Okay, sure, you put Miami over Notre Dame. That makes sense, but on the week to week, it doesn't make sense. You deliberately put Notre Dame down in the past couple weeks for teams like Oklahoma and Alabama, which on the week to week basis, Notre Dame looked like the better team. But you knew we kind of writ ourselves into a corner on this one. Let's just flip. Let's switch everything a little bit in the last 2 weeks so we can get Miami in. All this could be avoided if you don't have the show. If you don't have this horse and pony show that rides on the back of these teams, and it's not teams playing, it's just we're speculating where everything is. Like, and with that, why would Notre Dame want to play a game that doesn't mean anything to get more viewers to an ABC bowl? It kind of like the logic makes sense. Do I like it as a fan? No, I want to see Love like strap it up one more time. I want to see that, but I think Notre Dame really needs to reconsider like their standing and everything. I will stand 10 toes down. I do think they should continue being an independent because I don't care what everybody else says. I think independence is going to be the future of this playoff. I think the conferences are going to get too big. Teams are going to want the cut. The big teams are going to want a cut of their pie. The Michigans, the USCs, they're going to go like, why don't we just go independent? We're big enough. We can do it.
And
We'll make
Michigan has toyed with that. Michigan's
Hmm.
toying with the idea of going
You could
independent.
say you can save the games that matter. And I think this is one thing that I brought up to Gareth. I think this 12-team playoff is a great solution 10 years ago. If we still
And is
had
this
the
where my solution comes in?
this is where we had when we had the Pac-12 and we had uh, all these conferences.
A
Hell,
strong American.
when the Big 12 didn't even have a conference championship, like the 12-team playoff seems pretty good. But now we have these conferences that are so big, and there's teams that kind of need to prove themselves going into conference championship. I would like maybe, hey, have a couple play-in games or just optional games you can just get into. If you're not
Like
doing
Gruden brought up.
anything, like Gruden brought up, like I think Joel Klatt brought it up. Like people, like it's a good idea if it's just something like, hey, we don't have a conference championship. Let's secure our spot. Let's get the guys and let's do one last game and silence everything. Because if the concern is like players' health and all that stuff, I don't think the NCAA or college football in general really cares because let's be real, you figure out who you're going to play in your conference championship the week hours after the game, and then you got to start preparing for that new game. It's a week just like turnaround. You're figuring out, okay, this is the guy that we're playing. Let's go. We're sitting on the bench for a little bit, but one team loses. All right, we're back in. Let's go. Okay, cool. Why not give that option to teams like Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, hell, Miami? Run it back again. Run a game up. Throw Vanderbilt in there. It boosts the resume. If you lose, you have no other, like you have no one to blame but yourself. Like, hey, we put ourselves out there. We wanted to secure our spot. We did it. It's okay.
We at least did everything we could.
Yes.
And I like the idea of these playing games. Like I like the idea. And the only devil's advocate part of me is saying, well, then why not just expand if they're going to be playing games? But then you threw an optional. You threw an optional
Yes.
where it's like, you don't play it. You run the risk of, okay, they don't get to see another instance of how you are right now compared to what you were.
Like I could see Oregon in this year
Declining.
saying, no, we're not doing that. We think our resume is good enough. Okay, cool. I
You'll
think their
probably get in,
spot
but do it
is
at your own risk.
do it
Do
at
it at
your
your
own
own risk.
risk. Like if you think if you're like a 11-10, 11-1 Big Ten school, SEC school, like nope, we're
You're
good.
probably okay. You're
You're
probably okay.
probably you're probably okay.
More than
But
likely.
hell, for the teams on the bubble, like send like not send a text, but just like indicate something. Hey, yo, we're up. I like how Vanderbilt said that. Like their head coach said, "Hey, our boys are ready on like a 2 days notice." I like that, and
I
I think maybe figure out how to incorporate that because I know with Gruden he said, "Hey, like basically forego some of these group of 5 or group of 6 championships." I don't like that. I think it should be purely optional. Like, hey, see the thing is with like schedules, a lot of these schedules are made far years in advance. And I'll use
sometimes
Notre
10
Dame.
years.
10 years in advance or 3 years in advance. Like, let's be real. Uh, Going up, let's look at Notre Dame like this next coming season. They have Wisconsin. That looks like an easy game now. 5 years ago, that's a pretty solid like that's that's a good game. We should that's in the playoff world. I think that should be like that's going to be like one of our marquee games. Years pass, that's no longer a marquee game anymore. And that's kind of the weird thing with like Notre Dame schedules in general. And I'll expand it to other schedules. At the beginning of the season, you might be saying we have like one of the toughest schedules uh, in the nation. And then midway through, you're like, yeah, no, these are all cupcakes now. Injuries happen. This team collapsed. It can happen vice versa. You might we looked at it earlier in the season. We thought Oklahoma might have been a pushover. Turns out they weren't. Things change. So having this opportunity to opt into a game is like, hey, we didn't know how our schedule really was going to be when we scheduled it, but let's give us the opportunity to play a game to really prove ourselves. Like, do you really think, like in the SEC, like obviously the SEC is like guaranteed you're supposed to play Vanderbilt. 5 years ago, when you're like creating the schedules, saying like, okay, we're gonna with the size of the conference now, we're gonna have a home and away series with Vanderbilt for these 2 years. Do you really think everyone was like, oh no, Vanderbilt? No. Like that that's just that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. My final take on this is that I agree with you. I don't think Notre Dame should have to join a conference. And I partially agree with you that I think independence is where things are going. I think it's going to go back to kind of the 90s way of doing things where we had 20 to 30 independents as opposed to, 2 to 5 on a given year. You know what I'm
And
saying? Like,
I know it sounds crazy right now, and I feel like nobody's going to believe me when I say this. I think 10 years from now, people are going to realize maybe these mega conferences aren't the best way to capitalize on money. I
yeah.
just don't see it being sustainable long term without maybe having college football completely separate from the NCAA, which also very well could be the case. But
We talked about this.
If the NCAA wants to keep college football as an affiliate, which I think they do because money, I think the money, and I have only speculation to like say this, I think after a while, these mega conferences are going to get tired. Like we're going to get tired of the mega conferences. We're going to be like, this could all really be avoided if we just have West Coast teams play each other. And oh wait, we just recreated the Pac-12. Or maybe we make these conferences so big they need to group up again. So there's like an SEC A, SEC B, SEC C, and it's just regional now. All roads, I feel like, eventually are going to lead back to regionality.
Part of this also goes into what I'm saying. Like when you brought up an interesting point that the 12-team playoff was a good solution for 12 years ago. I think because people say conference championship games nowadays don't mean anything. I think they're more important than ever right now with how big these conferences are because not everyone plays everyone, and we need a way to differentiate.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next point. If only there was a system that used advanced metrics to differentiate teams. If only there was something named after the end of the season. The two biggest parts at the end of the college football season. Perhaps a bowl championship subdivision. A BCS, if you will. There's a nerd out there on the Reddit forums of the internet who's been doing the BCS calculations for this season. And I don't completely hate it. I think we have created our own problem by going to a 12-team playoff in an era where we need ways to differentiate ourselves. Conference championships. Obviously, that's a way to differentiate. But we also need advanced metrics where we kind of compare things. Aiden, I know you disagree with some of these. I disagree with some of these as well. No system's perfect. And that's what I say to the SEC teams butthurt that they're left out. Not Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame was screwed. These SEC teams that are butthurt that they're left out, that's the point of a playoff. Good teams get left out. That's just what happens. Even what I think is the greatest tournament format of all time, the NCAA tournament for basketball, good, even deserving teams get left out because of the parameters. And that's just life. Get over it. You're no one special.
That's
sorry.
life.
The SEC teams that are complaining that they got left out, you're not fucking winning it anyway. I'm sorry. I hate to burst your bubble. Vanderbilt, you're not winning it. Even Texas, who I think deserved to be in, you're not winning it. BYU, I think they got screwed. Too bad. You're not winning it. Even Alabama, you got in. You're not winning it. I'm sorry. You're just not. But on to the BCS rankings for this year. Number 1, Indiana. Number 2, Ohio State. Notice how they fell after losing a conference championship game? We'll bookmark that for later. Number 3, Georgia. They won the SEC. Texas Tech. They won the Big 12. Oregon at 5, Ole Miss at 6, Texas A&M at 7, Oklahoma at 8, Notre Dame at 9, Alabama at 10. Guess what? They fell for losing a conference championship game because guess what? Games matter. 11 is Miami, 12 is BYU, 13 Vanderbilt, 14 Texas, and yada, yada, yada from there on. And that doesn't really matter from there on. But conference championship games should matter. I'm not saying the BCS was a perfect system. I'm just saying it was not the optimal system for the time. Now, when we have conferences so big, you could go 4 years without playing an interconference rival, a rival that you have a trophy with. We need ways to separate. We need ways to differentiate. I'm not saying this is the perfect end-all be-all. I'm just saying I think this is honestly better than what we have.
Yes.
We have SEC people complaining about conference championship games. What the fuck do you want? Hypothetical matchups? Then you'd love the BCS. That's all about computer, based off of metrics, hypothetical matchups. And SEC teams, SEC homers right now hate the BCS when people bring up this point. My only question to SEC homers right now is, what do you want? What do you want? I know you want an all-SEC team playoff. Guess what? You have one. It's called the regular season. Win your fucking games. Oh, but I don't want the conference championship game to hurt me. Guess what happens when you make the playoff? Aiden, what happens when you lose in the playoff?
You're out.
You've got it. You're out. Strike 3, you're out. I'm not trying to act like this is some gotcha, but let's be realistic here. Do you at least get what I'm saying here?
I get what you're saying. In a playoff,
you lose, you're out. You're out. I'm not saying we need to go back to the old BCS method where, you'll lose one game and your season's over. I think you deserve a MacGuffin. I'm not saying we need to go back to a 2-team national championship. I'm saying we need to mesh this playoff system with some form of differentiator. I agree with you. Get rid of this whole 4-ring circus of a rankings release on a Tuesday night.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. It gives me something to do on Tuesday nights. But still.
That's what Maction's for.
Yes. Oh my God. We're fucking geniuses. That's what Maction's for. Fucking pay us at this point. We've got better ideas than half these people anyway. I'm sorry. I'm convinced half of these committee members and ESPN analysts don't actually watch the games. I'm dead ass convinced right now that they don't watch the games.
Mm-hmm.
Don't read the media. They don't read the things. They just want clicks. But hey, that's what sports media is about anyway.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a playoff rant by us.
Yeah.
We're sitting at 2 hours and 10 minutes. Do we want to get into some bold predictions, or do we want to save that for our next episode?
You know what? Screw it. I don't think we have enough time to drop the bowl episode before bowl games start because they start this weekend. And, you know,
Do we just start with the bowl games this weekend? Do we just start with those? Or do we record Friday?
we could
Oh, but
record
the bowl
Friday.
games start Friday. The bowl games start Friday, don't they?
No, they start Saturday.
Let's try and squeeze in an episode on Friday if we can.
We'll squeeze in the episode on Friday.
That should be a short one. That should be like 45 minutes max.
Yeah.
But no. We apologize for the rants this episode. Aiden and I have a lot of, as the current mental health specialist would say, a lot of big feelings about this last week. We have a lot of big feelings.
Big feelings.
And we agree. And
yes.
We agree on a lot more than most people would think we do.
Yes.
But with that being said, do you have anything else to add when it comes to this playoff? Or, the Phillip Rivers or the NFL or just stuff that's happened over the last week?
You know what? Did I don't think. Okay, so quick before we go, quick shout out to UFC 323. We had Merab versus Jan. A pretty good card. A lot of movement. A lot of unexpected outcomes on my end. I didn't see a lot of these coming, but first one, Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. That ended in a draw. Henry Cejudo lost to Peyton Talbot. I called that one. I believe Henry Cejudo is going to be hanging it up now. He had a good run. Double champion. Future Hall of Famer, but man, it is really time to hang it up right now. Peyton Talbot with the unanimous decision win. Tatsuro Taira beat Brandon Moreno in a KO in round 2. Victory by punches. Did not see that one coming. I thought Brandon Moreno was primed for another run, but Tatsuro Taira looks to be a really solid contender for the flyweight. I think he's going to have a good shot for the flyweight title fight, where we have Pantoja losing to Joshua Van by knockout in the first round. This one, it was quick and it was decisive. Joshua Van gets the job done in under 30 seconds with the victory by KO. And then we had a all-out brawl with a unanimous decision for Peter Yan in the bantamweight main event for the title fight. I did not see Merab losing this one, but this was an absolute slugfest. Merab was able to get some good control time on the ground, but the judges scored it in favor for Peter Yan. I think this was the right way to go. There was a good amount of significant strikes going from both sides. Peter Yan able to land 339. Merab able to land 334. Peter Yan gets the victory, and I did not see him becoming the bantamweight champion on my 2025 bingo card, but able to get it out, and it's a good win for him. I'm excited to see where the bantamweight goes from here. And yeah, good card to end up the pay-per-view era for UFC. I'm excited for the Paramount deal. We're going to be jumping into it next year. I'm really excited for it. And yeah, but that's going to sum up my UFC 323 recap.
Yeah. As with little limited ball knowledge I have when it comes to UFC outside of the occasional TikToker fighting, That Marab one surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch a replay because I think I went to bed, honestly. But rough weekend for Gareth. Rough
Yeah.
weekend. Very rough weekend. Possible community guideline strike, but after further research, we don't have one. So, but
Let's go.
hectic week for us here at Tobacco Road and Abroad. I'm sure it'll get even more hectic with the holidays coming up, but we'll still keep bringing you episodes. We had to have a little bit of a pause to do some research on some things. We'll get into that later.
Yes.
But we appreciate you guys listening in. This was a good episode full of some good discussions. I know we didn't get through too many topics, but I feel like we delved pretty deep on some
Yes.
things that were important and some things that have happened recently. But nonetheless, we think a good episode. We really appreciate you guys listening in. I'm sure we'll come at you with that bowl episode pretty soon. Um, yeah, and then college basketball is heating up. We go right from one thing to another. College football, I like to think I'm all right at breaking down. Aiden's really good at college football breakdowns, but I think my strengths tend to more lie with college basketball. So we're going into really my time of the season where we get college football and college basketball games are actually starting to matter. Like we're no longer playing like East Texas Tech.
Quick
By we,
thought
I mean
before
everyone.
before we go, Gareth. Quick summary on NC State standing right now. I know you've brought it up before, but on a scale from 1 to 10, how what's the panic meter for NC State? Losing
I'd
some
say
pretty big ones, but I don't think the alarm bell should be going off as some fans are.
I'd say 3. Um, the Auburn loss wasn't necessarily a good look, but if you look at how both teams played, Auburn just hit some crazy shots. Like they
Mhm.
shot, I think, like 65% from 3. And like we've said on here, if the team you're playing shoots over 50% from 3, you can go ahead and just turn the game off. You can just go ahead and turn the game off.
Yeah.
Um, that Auburn game, I think they played well. I think just NC State needs to do a better job guarding the 3-point line. They're one of the best teams when it comes to post defense, which I think will help them down the line. But I think we need to be a little bit more nuanced on when we play this help defense. For those help defenses, when you get dribble penetration or any sort of penetration in like a dangerous spot towards the basket, you double team. But I mentioned this last year. The whole point of a double team is to get the ball carrier to pick up the dribble. As soon as the ball carrier picks up the dribble, you drop out of it. The issue is NC State has been dropping out of that double team as fast. But like I've said before, if our woes are defensive issues are an easy fix. It's an effort fix. It's a scheme fix. Whereas if offense is the issue, yeah, sorry, your season's over. Which,
Yeah.
at least when it comes to that Auburn game's obviously one I'd like to have back. Other games, obviously Maui, that Seton Hall game, but who knows? Seton Hall out of nowhere is good. I think they're 25th in the net right now. They were picked to finish in the bottom third of the net, so like the 300s and above. Seton Hall's having a crazy season. I'll forgive that. That Texas game is just another one of those Auburn, like the Auburn game where they were hitting like above 50% from 3, so I'll give them that. I think State will be okay. Um, I know some fans were like, "Oh, Will Wade's going to take us to the Final Four the first year." I don't think that's the case. I think Sweet 16 is more of a realistic goal. I'm happy with just making the tournament this year, but expectations may change with how the season goes. But yeah, I think the alarm bells should be at like a 3. Like, there's some things we need to improve upon. I think they will get improved upon. I mean, they looked good tonight. I mean, hell, Liberty had 16 points in the first half. I don't care who you're playing, as long as that's a Division One team and you're limiting them to 16 points in the first half. I think that's a good sign. Like even if it is someone like Liberty, like that's crazy to me. That's absolutely bonkers. Like I know they ended up scoring like 40 points, but I think they did a good job of limiting perimeter shooting, and that is one thing that Liberty team excels at is that their perimeter shooting game. So yeah, that's my take on it. Do you have anything else to add for Carolina so far?
Nah, looking really solid. A good win against Georgetown. I'm really excited for conference play for this Tar Heel team. Uh, have a game this weekend against South Carolina, upstate. Aiden,
Against my cousin's school.
Aiden, we're coming for you. I would not highlight that unless if Garrett's cousin was not going to be going to SC Upstate, but we're coming for you. Aiden, we're
We're
coming for
coming.
you. Aiden, you listening to this? We coming for you, man. Me?
Me, I'm on the track team.
What do you say fuck me for? But really excited for conference play. And yeah, that pretty much sums up everything. I like. No news is good news right now. We've pretty much covered. The only real woes that I saw was against Michigan State, which that was a good team. You're not going to go undefeated in basketball. Come on.
Yeah.
And some parts of that Kentucky game were a little bit rough, but we're figuring it all out. This is a good team. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think we're in for a really excited ACC season. The ACC looks incredibly strong this year. I think we
ACC
are.
is back.
I think we're in for a really, really interesting and a treat of a season.
Yes.
But now, with that being said, I think that'll do it for us here tonight. You'll probably hear from us again on Friday. Hopefully this episode gets off without a hitch, unlike the last two. That was a little bit of a scare. We had a little bit of a scare. We're not gonna get into it, but we had a little bit of a scare, to say the least. But I'll get this out ASAP. Yeah. I'm just yammering, but I'm just saying we did have a little bit of a scare. Like Aiden and I were a little bit panicked there for a little bit, but hey, it happens. Live and you learn.
Who forgot to cut the break?
Who forgot to cut the unscheduled break? Maybe it's the
But
one Bugs Bunny joke I forgot to cut, but oh well.
yeah,
I think I cut that anyway. But
yeah,
people knew what I was referencing. But now,
yeah,
thank you guys for listening in, and we will, I guess, not next week. We will see you Friday then.
yeah.